The glass-walled boardroom glittered like a jewel suspended above the skyline, 40 floors up. Sunlight poured in through panoramic windows, casting sharp reflections on the polished mahogany table. Every seat was occupied by men and women in suits worth more than Ravi's yearly wages. Their expensive watches caught the light as they gestured over graphs, projections, and million-dollar contracts. In the far corner, Ravi moved quietly with his mop and bucket, each step deliberate so as not to disturb the meeting. His faded gray overalls hung loosely on his lean frame, frayed at the cuffs. His hands were rough from years of scrubbing floors, yet his posture remained upright, his eyes steady. He'd been in this room countless times, though never as anything more than part of the background, another piece of the invisible machinery that kept the building immaculate for people who never learned his name. Today, however, his presence didn't go unnoticed. The CEO, a tall man with slicked back silver hair and a voice that seemed designed for command, was pacing at the head of the table. He stopped mid-sentence, his gaze locking on Ravi like a laser. His brow furrowed, his lips curled. "You." His voice cracked like a whip, silencing the chatter instantly. "What are you doing here? You don't belong in this meeting." Every head turned toward Ravi. The rustle of silk ties and tailored sleeves filled the sudden quiet. Some executives looked puzzled, others irritated, as though an unwelcome blemish had appeared in their pristine corporate world. The CEO took a step forward, towering over the polished table. "This is a confidential discussion. You're not authorized to be here. Who let you in?" The air grew heavy, the kind of silence that makes your heartbeat feel loud in your own ears. Ravi didn't move. His mop dripped onto the marble floor, each droplet echoing faintly in the stillness. He didn't rush to answer. The CEO's words still hung in the air like the echo of a slammed door, but Ravi's breathing remained even. Years of working in spaces where he was treated like he didn't exist had taught him patience. He straightened his back, not in defiance, but in quiet dignity, and rested both hands on the handle of his mop. The floor beneath him gleamed from his work, a mirror reflecting the sharp contrast between worn overalls and designer suits. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, steady, so steady it cut through the tension better than a shout ever could. "I'm here for my daughter." The simplicity of the statement made the room pause. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't an excuse. It was a fact, spoken with a weight that demanded curiosity. The CEO blinked, taken aback, as if unsure he'd heard correctly. "You're, what?" His tone dripped with disbelief, like the idea itself was absurd. "My daughter," Ravi repeated, his gaze never wavering. "She's in this building." Around the table, a few executives exchanged glances, quick, sideways looks filled with questions they didn't voice. The click of a pen, the soft shuffle of papers, and the hum of the city far below were the only sounds. The CEO's mouth pressed into a thin line, his irritation sharpening. "That's irrelevant. This is a closed meeting. Whatever you think you're doing here, it's exactly where I need to be." The quiet conviction in his tone made a few people unconsciously sit straighter, as if sensing there was more to this janitor than the mop in his hands. A faint, awkward cough broke the silence. One of the younger board members, a woman in a navy skirt suit, glanced at the CEO, then at Ravi. "Sir, there is an intern on my team named Aisha Ravi. She's been helping with the merger analysis. Her work's been impressive." Several heads turned toward her, surprise flickering. Across polished faces, the name seemed to hang in the air for a moment before sinking in. The CEO's frown deepened. "And what does that have to do with this?" He gestured toward Ravi as though the man were an intrusion, an error in an otherwise perfect equation. "She's my daughter." The words seemed to ripple through the room like a stone dropped in still water. A few executives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some avoided his gaze entirely. "She told me she had a big presentation today," Ravi said. "She also told me she was nervous, because in rooms like this, people see her last name, hear her background, and decide she doesn't belong before she even starts speaking. I came because I know what that feels like. And I wanted her to know she isn't alone." Ravi's fingers tightened around the wooden handle of his mop. "I know what it feels like to walk into a place and have people decide, before you even open your mouth, that you don't belong. I've been cleaning offices for 20 years. People pass me in the hall and don't even see me. But invisibility doesn't mean worthlessness. I raised my daughter to believe she belongs anywhere she earns her place, whether it's a classroom, an office, or a boardroom like this. And she did earn her place. Every late night, every exam, every rejection letter she turned into fuel, she fought for this." He looked directly at the CEO, not with anger, but with disappointment. She doesn't need to prove she belongs here to me. She's already done that. But maybe this room needs to prove it deserves her. The last words hit the air like a hammer against glass. No one spoke. Somewhere in the distance, the city hummed on, oblivious. Inside the boardroom, the only sound was the soft, rhythmic drip of water from the mop head onto the gleaming marble floor. The tension in the boardroom felt like it was holding its breath. Then, soft footsteps echoed from the hallway. The glass doors slid open, and Aisha stepped inside. She carried a slim laptop in her arms, clutched like a shield. Her black blazer was slightly too big, the sleeves brushing her wrists, and a strand of hair had escaped her neat bun, curling against her cheek. The first thing she saw was her father in the middle of the room. Her eyes widened. "Dad," she said softly. Ravi smiled faintly. "Go on, Beta. Do your presentation." She looked between him and the CEO, who had stepped back toward the head of the table, his expression unreadable. A flicker of uncertainty passed over her face, but Ravi gave the smallest nod. Her shoulders squared. Her grip on the laptop loosened. She stepped toward the front of the room, her heels clicking against the marble like a steady heartbeat. The CEO gestured toward the projector. "Let's proceed." Aisha connected her laptop. At first, her voice trembled, but it grew steady, then confident. The screen lit up with detailed slides, and as she explained forecasts and strategy, executives leaned forward, listening. Some nodded slowly. Even the older man at the far end was watching intently. From the back, Ravi stood silently, his mop now resting against the wall. Every word she spoke was a testament to her work and to the sacrifices that had brought her here. The final slide faded. For a moment, there was silence, then applause, hesitant at first but growing stronger. Aisha closed her laptop and looked toward her father. He wasn't clapping, he didn't need to. The pride in his eyes was louder than any applause. Some executives nodded to each other. The younger board member smiled. The older man whispered something to the CEO, who sat less rigid now, though he still didn't meet Ravi's eyes. Aisha walked to her father and took his hand. "Thank you for being here," she murmured. "Always," he replied. As they left together, the sound of the mop's bucket wheels rolling across the marble floor was the last thing the board heard, a reminder that greatness doesn't always enter the room in a tailored suit.